Good day, sports fans. Thank you so much for joining us for this Lecture 6 of the Cricket South Africa Level 1 umpiring course, hosted by Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. My name is Abdullah Steenkamp, and my usual batting partner this evening is Tom Makarosi. We'll follow the usual format. Tonight we will cover the dismissal laws. There are 9 in total. I will cover law 32 up until 37. I'll then hand over to Tom. Tom will then do laws 38, 39, and 40. And you will then also cover a match preparation or a few match preparation slides. After that, we will open the floor for Q&A. We will go into the chat box, and then if there are any hands, virtual hands that are raised, we will attend to those as well. So, as mentioned, 9 dismissal laws. There are some of them that happens every single week, like your bowl, LBW, your court, your runouts, your stumping. But there are some of those that happens once a while, once a blue moon. But it is important that we as umpires, we know our laws and we know our dismissal laws, and especially those that doesn't happen that often, because when they do, we need to know exactly how to handle them. So, kicking off the dismissal laws is the bowled law. So, what does the law tell us about bowled? How is the striker out bowled? Ball needs to put the wicket down, and obviously the ball that was delivered by the bowler and not being a no ball. Ball needs to go and put the wicket down. Even if it first touches the striker's bat or person, it goes against the pad, then onto the wickets, or from the bat onto the wicket, striker still out bowled. Ball goes against wicket. Striker will not be out bowled if the ball, before striking the wicket, has been in contact with any player or umpire. When it comes to the modes of dismissals, bowled is always boss. Bowled is number 1. So at times you can have from a single ball, a batter being out on more than one mode of dismissal. But if one of them is bowled, bowled is always boss. Bowl will always take precedence. We'll see in the next law who is number 2. So just keep in mind, bowled is always number 1. When it comes to the court law, let's first look at an animation video.
Fair catch. A catch shall be considered fair if the ball is held in a fielder's hand, hugged to the body of the catcher, or accidentally lodges in his or her clothing, helmet, or protective equipment. But of course, this being cricket, it isn't always that simple. If a fielder deliberately uses an item of clothing to try to catch the ball, it is not out, and 5 penalty runs are awarded to the batting side. However, the ball can be caught after it has deflected off the other batsman, an umpire, another fielder, including off a helmet being worn, or even if it lodges in a fielder's helmet. Perhaps the main criterion for a catch to be considered fair is that the ball must not touch the ground before being caught. Here, for example, the ball does not touch the ground even though the hand holding it does so in effecting the catch. This is a fair catch. And then there is the question of catches near the boundary. This is such an interesting subject that we've given it a film all of its own. To catch up on everything to do with catching, simply refer to Law 33 in the Blue Book.
So when a striker is out caught, how many runs will be scored? The law tells us 0 runs to be scored if a striker is out caught. So even if the ball gets hit high up in the air, a fielder settling under the ball, strikers or batters complete 2 runs, and then the catch is taken. those 2 runs will not count because 0 runs to be scored if a batter is out caught. I mentioned earlier in the previous law, bowled is all number 1, and who's number 2? Caught is number 2. Caught will take precedence if a batter is dismissed of a single ball and more than one method or more than one mode, and caught is one of them, except for bowled. Remember, bowled is number 1. Just keep in mind, caught is number 2. Let's look at a catch that happened quite a few years ago in an Ashes Test match. We'll look at the catch, we'll listen to the commentary, and then we will listen to the TV umpire for this particular match, who was South Africa's Marie Erasmus, and he will brilliantly explain to us exactly why he gave his decision as not out. But let's first look at the catch and listen to what the commentators have to say.
I want your opinion on that catch now, Ricky. You've had ages to digest it as you've meandered across the outfield. What do you reckon?
And the last 10 minutes in the commentary box, we've been talking about it. I'm worried about the inconsistencies of all of this. I mean, I can sit back and argue that Steve Smith wasn't in control of his movements either in the first innings. His was deemed to have his fingers underneath the ball. Mitchell Starc took the catch, 3 or 4 feet from the ground. So at some stage his fingers were underneath the ball. I'm sure we'll get more. We'll talk about it forever. We'll get more clarification, I'm sure, overnight by the time we've spoken to the umpires. But, I mean, if you look at that, I know they're talking about the movement not being completed, but that's been held longer than any slips catch, any keeper's catch that's ever been taken in the history of the game. But they catch it and throw it up straight away, and sometimes you are still moving when you've done that. So I could argue that he's controlled that ball as long, if not longer, than most catches that are actually taken in the game.
I suppose, and I'd say to Strauss, I haven't been able to ask Marais Erasmus specifically about this, but if he's arguing that he's not in control of his movements, it's because he's using the ball to steady himself a wee bit.
Yeah, I think that's what he'll come back to. But
the inconsistency.
Was Steve Smith doing the same? I mean, that's what I don't. And I think what you'll see with a lot of these is you'll see different umpires interpret that in a different way, I reckon.
Right. We'll have a look at the Steve Smith catch then, because you can go through what you mean about having his fingers on the ball and then his movements after.
Yeah, well, I spoke to you this night. That he clearly catches that a long way above the ground. And what he said then, if you look at the way his fingers were underneath the ball, on the bottom side of the ball then, from what angles that I saw, the ball actually touched the ground, although his fingers were underneath it. As he came back up, the ball came out of his hand. So is he actually in control of the ball? I think Mitchell Starc was in control of the ball longer than what Steve Smith was with his.
The question I have, I mean, it's sloppy from Mitchell Starc, isn't it? I think the catch was good, but you don't let the ball just go along the ground like that. He could have easily sort of rolled his body over and made sure the ball did not touch the ground. So it was a 100%. Sloppy bit of fielding in the end.
Yeah, cannot argue with that at all.
Okay, we've now listened to the commentators and ex-international players, ex-captains. Let's listen to Marie Erasmus.
Exactly what you saw in the third umpire's chair, and just interpret the law for us as you, with your thinking process around the catch.
Yeah, the law is specific in it says that the fielder has to have control of his body and movement. In that particular case, he was still moving and he put the ball on the ground. Now, if you take that example and say he was sliding towards the boundary, if he slid into the boundary, we would have deemed it either 4 or 6, depending on if the ball touched the ground before. So there's no difference in our interpretation for the catch.
So the key thing is that he only then has control of his body when the movement has stopped, and by that stage the ball has clearly touched the ground.
Yes. It was actually quite simple because he actually put the ball on the ground quite early, and then eventually when he came to stop, it was too late.
I want your...
Next mode of dismissal is hit the ball twice, and this is one of those that doesn't happen that often. But when it happens, you need to know exactly how to handle it. Let's look at an animation video first.
Hit the ball twice. Hit the ball twice and you're out. Unless, of course, you're defending your wicket or it was accidental, in which case you're still in. The striker is out hit the ball twice if, while the ball is in play, it strikes any part of his person or is struck by his bat and, before the ball has been touched by a fielder, he willfully strikes it again with his bat or person. The key word here is willfully. But if this had happened instead, the batsman would remain in. In other words, inadvertent double strikes don't count. The batsman is allowed to hit the ball a second time in order to guard his wicket. He can use his bat or almost any part of his body. He cannot, however, use a hand that's not holding the bat. The only time you can't use your bat to hit the ball twice to defend your wicket is when it would prevent a catch. The batsman can also hit the ball a second time in order to return it to a fielder, as long as a fielder has given him permission to do so. If you'd like to swat up on this a bit more, simply turn to Law 34 in the Blue Book, where you'll find all the nitty-gritty detail you need.
So we've just heard in the video that the batter or the striker is allowed to hit the ball a second time, but only to defend his or her wicket. That's the only time where you are allowed to hit the ball a second time. So now, if you do defend your wicket and you do hit it a second time, are you allowed to run after hitting it a second time, defending your wicket? The law tells us absolutely not. That run should not be allowed. Okay, but you, the umpire, needs to intervene, but you only intervene after either the ball reaches the boundary or as soon as the two batters completed the first run, then you intervene. And how do you intervene? You need to call and signal dead ball. Why do you only intervene after the first run is completed or when the ball reaches the boundary? The law tells us batters is not actually supposed to run, but it's not the fielding side's problem that they don't know the law, and if they do decide to run, the fielding side has the opportunity to run out the batter. But that window is only open and it closes when the first run is completed or the ball reaches the boundary. So if a ball hit a second time, legally to protect your wicket, the run should not be allowed. So yes, I've just mentioned umpire to call and signal dead ball. If they did run and completed a run, that run should not be allowed. You need to send the batters back to their original end. If there was a no ball, that no ball will apply. Any 5 penalty runs at the plicker will count, except if the ball hit the helmet belonging to the fielding side. Next mode of dismissal is hit wicket. Let's first cover how you can be dismissed hit wicket, and then how you are not out hit wicket. And then after I've covered how you're not out and how you're out, I'm then going to play you a video. I then want you to apply the law to the video, and it will be our first question for the night. And in the chat box, I want you to put out or not out. But let's first cover hit wicket. And let's first see how is the striker out hit wicket. First important thing, there is a window period for hit wicket to happen. It starts somewhere and it ends somewhere. So let's first look at where it starts. Striker can only be out hit wicket after the bowler has entered his or her delivery stride. So when does the bowler enter the delivery stride? When that back foot lands. That is when they enter the delivery stride. So striker can only be given out hit wicket after the bowlers enter the delivery stride. So that's when the window period for hit wicket opens, when that back foot lands, i.e. when the bowler enters a delivery stride. So what happens if the wicket is put down before the bowler enters a delivery stride? We'll get to that answer in the next slide. But for now, just keep in mind, there is a window period for hit wicket. It starts when the bowler enters his or her delivery stride. So now let's go further. Now the law tells us a striker is out wicket if the bowler after enters the delivery stride. Then the striker puts the wicket down with either the bat or the person in the following instances. Any course of action taken by the striker in preparing to receive or receiving the delivery. One or two examples of what is meant by the action taken by the striker in preparing to receive the delivery. Firstly, you'll find a lot of batsmen having trigger movements. Some batters have a back and across movement. Some batters have where they lift their bat in the air before the bowler is going to deliver the ball. That is just two examples of an action taken by the batter in preparing to receive a delivery. So let's use the back and across movement by a batter. If a batter having this trigger movement by moving back and across, and then after the bowler entered the delivery stride, the batter then tramp on the stumps, or lifting the bat and the bat put one or both bails down. If that happens, striker is out, hit wicket. Secondly, striker out, hit wicket. In setting off for the first run, and the important word in this point 2 is setting off for that first run, it needs to be immediately after playing at the ball. I'll give you an example. If you can visualize, the striker, bowler delivers the ball, the striker hits the ball into the covers, and now the striker then sets off immediately for that first run, and let's say now that back foot slides, and then it slides onto the stumps. This is an example. Striker should be given out, hit wicket, because striker set off immediately for that first run. If there's any delay and then the striker put the wicket down, it will be not out, hit wicket. So importantly, it needs to be immediate. So point 3 is almost exactly as point 2, just the only difference is in point 3, the striker played at the ball, like in my example, hit the ball into the covers and then set off immediately after playing at the ball. Point 3, the difference here is the striker again needs to set off immediately, but in point 3, the striker didn't play at the ball. Let's say shouldered arms, he didn't hit anything, it goes through the keeper's legs, and now the striker set off for the run, and that back foot slides and put the wicket down. But also important with point 3, as in point 2, that setting off for the run needs to be immediate. And if it's immediate, striker to be given out, hit wicket. And then lastly, strikers out or hit wicket if the striker tries to lawfully guard his or her wicket by a second or a third or a fourth stroke. Let's say the ball is now rolling towards the wicket. Striker is now trying to protect the wicket, to hit the ball away. The striker then put the wicket down. Striker is out, hit wicket. So these are the 4 ways how a striker is dismissed, hit wicket. And importantly, a window period for hit wicket opens when that back foot lands. I mentioned earlier that a striker can only be given out hit wicket after the bowler has entered the delivery stride. So what happens if before the bowler enters the delivery stride, the striker then very early has this back and across movement and then tramps on the stumps? Here the law guides us by telling us you need to call and signal dead ball if the striker put the wicket down before the bowler enters the delivery stride. So now we're going to cover when the striker is not out, hit wicket. And in here, we're going to see when the window period for hit wicket closes. We know when it opens, when the striker enters that delivery stride. So when does the hit wicket close, the window period for hit wicket close? Bullet point 1 here. It closes after the striker has completed any action in receiving the delivery. After the shot is done for that particular ball, and then the striker put the wicket down, striker should be not out, hit wicket. So striker, the window period closes as soon as the shot is done. while the striker is still playing the shot and then put the wicket down, out hit wicket. But as soon as the shot is done, i.e. as soon as the striker's completed any action, then the the window period is closed. And if the striker should put the wicket down after completed any action or after completing the shot, the striker should be given not out hit wicket because the window period is closed. Striker also not out hit wicket if while running and the striker put the wicket down while busy with, let's say, the second or third or fourth run. Striker should be not out hit wicket. Remember, this is not where the striker setting off immediately for that first run, then put the wicket down. That is, yes, the striker is out hit wicket. But if the striker puts the wicket down in the second run or the third run or the fourth run, not out hit wicket. If the striker tries to avoid being run out or stumped and puts the wicket down, not out hit wicket. If the striker is trying to avoid a throw at any time, also not out hit wicket. If the striker puts the wicket down and the bowler goes through the motion, goes through the, arm goes through, but the bowler for whatever reason does not deliver the ball. Even though the striker put the wicket down, but because the bowler did not deliver the ball, striker will not be given out hit wicket. We've covered this under the dead ball law. If the bowler does not deliver the ball, umpires needs to call and signal dead ball. And lastly, striker will not be out hit wicket if the delivery is a no ball. So now we've covered when the striker is out hit wicket. We've also covered when he's not out hit wicket. And we now know when the window period opens. We also know when it closes. So let's look at this video and apply what you've just heard in the law. So in the chat box, I want you to put 35 or quiz 35.1 and put in the out or not out hit wicket. I'm going to play the video, but I'm going to purposefully not play the sound. I don't want you to listen to the commentators because there are times the commentators do put you on the wrong path. There's many of them that actually don't know the laws. So just wait for the replay. You'll see now what happens. So you, the TV umpire, and in the chat box, I want you to put out hit wicket or not out hit wicket. Just have a look what the batter does. We're just waiting for the replay. It's coming on any second now. Okay, yeah, the replay is coming up now. So you, the TV umpire, out or not out? I will quickly replay just this final part again. I'm not going to play the whole video again. Just look at this final part and apply what we've just covered. Out or not out hit wicket. Okay, when we do our Q&A session, Tom will give us the answer. Next law, leg before wicket. It's one of the smallest laws in the book, but if you look at all the wickets or most of the appeals at any level of cricket from club cricket right up until international cricket, most of the appeals on any given day is for leg before wicket. A very important law, or mode of dismissal. You need to have a good understanding exactly how leg before works, because most of your appeals on any given day is for leg before. Let's first look at an animation video.
Leg before wicket. LBW. LBW is a little like the offside rule in football. Many people claim to know it, but how many people really do? Our handy checklist means that whether you find yourself umpiring an international test match or the kids on the beach, your reputation for fairness will remain intact. There are 5 basic criteria to consider. The batsman is out, leg before wicket, if 1. The bowler bowls a ball that isn't a no ball, unlike this poor fellow. 2. The ball, if it is not intercepted on the full, pitches in line between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the batsman's wicket. It cannot be out if the ball pitches outside the line of the leg stump. 3. The ball hits the batsman either full pitch or after pitching and before he hits it with his bat. 4. This is where it gets a bit more complicated. If the batsman was making a genuine attempt to play the ball, the point of impact must be between wicket and wicket for LBW to be an option. However, if the batsman has made no genuine attempt to play the ball, the contact must either be between wicket and wicket or outside the line of the off stump. 5. This is the crucial part. But for the interception by the batsman, the ball would have gone on to hit the stumps and dislodge the bails. Any questions? Just refer to Law 36 in the Blue Book.
So just to summarize the LBW points that umpire considers when there is an LB appeal. Firstly, ball not to be a no ball. Where does the ball needs to pitch? It needs to pitch in line between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the wicket. So here you can see the law is clear. It wants either the ball to pitch in line or on the offside. That's why you always hear if the ball pitch outside leg can never be out LBW. And this is why, with the law specific in terms of pitching, where it needs to pitch. Must pitch in line between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the wicket. Ball should never touch the bat first. As soon as the ball touches the bat first, batter can never be given out LBW. Yes, if it strikes the pad first and then the bat, then you can consider the LBW appeal. But if it strikes the bat first, batter can never be given out LBW. Yes, I know they call it LBW, leg before wicket. But the law tells us the ball can hit any part of the person. It can hit, yes, most of the time it will hit your leg, but it can hit your arm, your tummy, your shoulder, your head, any part of your person. When it comes to the point of impact, here the law wants the point of impact to always be between wicket and wicket. There is a but we'll get to it now. But in terms of point of impact, must be between wicket and wicket. And what is that but? And that but is where the law allows for the impact to be outside on the offside or outside the line or not be between wicket and wicket if the striker did not make a genuine attempt to play at the ball. The striker did not play at the ball. Then if the impact is outside off, then you can consider the LBW appeal. And then lastly, in your opinion, the ball would have gone on to hit the wicket. So these are the 5 points when there is an LBW appeal that you consider. Yes, These 5 points goes like, you know, split second through your brain, and you need to make a call, but these are the things that you need to consider. So let's look at a few picks, and we apply the law to these picks. So this is a right-hand bat. Look at the ropes, and that the ropes indicates you know, from the off stump to the leg stump, so that is between the wicket and wicket. So where did this ball pitch? This ball pitched outside leg stump to this right-handed batter. Never be out LBW if the ball pitched outside leg stump. Let's look at this. Where did the ball pitch? The law wants the ball to either pitch on the offside or between the wicket and wicket. This ball pitched between the wicket and wicket. Where was the impact? The impact was between wicket and wicket. And what is that final question that you need to ask yourself? Would the ball have gone on to hit the wicket? Now you need, that is where LBW is a judgment call. In your opinion, if you think this ball is going on to hit the wicket, give the striker out LB. If you think this is not going on to hit the wicket, then not out LBW. Let's first look at where the ball pitched. This ball pitched on the offside, so we're happy with where it pitched. Where's the impact? Is the impact between wicket and wicket? No, the impact is not between wicket and wicket. This impact is outside off or outside the line. And for that reason, this will be not out LBW. Let's look at where the ball pitched. The ball pitched outside off, so we're happy with where it pitched. Let's look at the impact. Is the impact between the wicket and wicket? No, the impact is not between the wicket and wicket. This impact is outside off. But in this scenario, look at the batter. Did he offer a shot? No, he did not. So because of the no shot offered, you can consider this LBW appeal. But importantly, you still need to, that final point that you need to consider. In your opinion, would this have gone on to hit the wicket? That's your judgment call. If you think this is going on to hit the wicket, give the batter out LB. If you think, I don't think this is going on to hit the wicket, then not out LBW. Where did the ball pitch? It pitched between wicket and wicket. Where was the impact? Impact was between wicket and wicket. Would it have gone on to hit the stumps? That's your judgment call. If yes, out LB. If no, if not out, if you don't think it was going to hit the wicket, then not out LBW. Where did the ball pitch? Yes, we're happy it pitched between wicket and wicket. Where was the impact? Yes, the impact was between wicket and wicket. Do you think this ball would have gone on to hit the wicket? And when is the LBW appeal? Yes, you do take the law into account, but there's also other factors that you need to take into account when there's an LBW appeal. So the factors that we need to take into account for this appeal is, if you can visualize this, this is a left-arm bowler bowling over the wicket. So now look at where the ball pitched, look at where the impact is. Look at the stride the batter got in. So you can see from where the ball pitched to the stumps, if you, we've covered that the popping crease to the stumps is 1.22 meters. This batter got a fairly good stride in. Let's say traveling distance from where the ball hit the pad to the stumps is probably about 1.5 meters. So there's quite a bit of traveling to do. And look at the angle. I don't think this ball is going on to hit the stumps, even though it pitched in line, even though it hit, the impact is in line. But because of the angle, I think this is missing the stumps. I will give this not out LB, as it missing off stump. Similarly to this ball, where did it pitch? We're happy it pitched outside off, so we're happy with where it pitched. Where's the impact? Yes, the impact is between wicket and wicket. But that last question, do we think this ball would have gone on to hit the stumps? Just look at the angle. It's quite a lot of movement. Batter playing forward. Lots of traveling distance to the stumps. Probably of about another 1.5 meters to the stumps. I think this is missing leg stump. So yes, again, this shows us you need to take the law into account, but there's also other factors that you need to take into account when there's an LB appeal. And then lastly, Where did it pitch? Outside off. Where's the impact inside? Impact is between the wicket and wicket. But would this have gone on to hit the stumps? I don't think so. Look how high on the pad this hits. I think this is going over the top of the stumps. And I will give this not out. But it is a judgment call. It's a call that you need to make. You take the law into account, you take other factors into account, and then make that judgment call. Would it have gone on to hit the stumps? If you think yes, give it out. If no, not out, LB. The last law that I'm covering tonight, before handing over to Tom, obstructing the field. Let's look at an animation video.
Obstructing the field. A batsman is out obstructing the field if he or she willfully attempts to obstruct or distract the fielding side by word or action. Like this, for example. Thank you, Tommy. In particular, it is considered to be obstruction if, while the ball is in play and after the striker has played the ball, either batsman willfully strikes the ball with a hand not holding the bat or any other part of his or her person, or with the bat. The exception to this is when the batsman is attempting to defend his or her wicket. The batsman may do this with the bat or any part of his or her person, except with a hand not holding the bat. If the batsman uses such a hand, he or she will be out obstructing the field. The handled the ball law no longer exists, with such incidents now covered by obstructing the field instead. The obstruction has to be willful. Accidental obstruction, or obstruction caused by trying to avoid injury, does not count, and the decision on that is down to the umpire. It's worth noting that if a catch is obstructed, it is the striker who is out, even if it was the non-striker who caused the obstruction. Mind you, it's not always an easy decision. Here, the batsman deliberately crosses out of the legal running area in order to attempt to obstruct a throw. There is no other reason why the batsman should be running across the pitch. What looked an accident was, in fact, an illegal incident. To avoid any possible confusion, read Law 37 in black and white in the blue book.
So now I'm going to play you another video. And this is quiz question 2, so quiz 37.1. You're the TV umpire. The on-field is going to send this up. I'm not going to play it with sound. I want you to say yes, out obstructing the field, or not out obstructing the field. We'll see the replay now. They're going to send this up to the TV umpire. So have a look now. Look where the ball is played. Look at the batter, where he starts. Look at where he ends up. You're the TV umpire. Make your call. So when it comes to runs scored, when a batter is given out obstructing the field, I'll start with point number 2 first. If the obstruction prevents a striker from being out caught, no runs to be scored. If any other obstruction, completed runs will count. And if there are any penalties for wides or no balls, they will also count. And bowler will not get credit for this. Tom, thank you so much. That is all I'm covering this evening. Taking a single, and you can face the rest of the over. Over to you, Tom.
Move on to Law 38, which is the run out. How can a batter be run out? Either batter is run out if at any time while the ball is in play, he or she is out of his or her ground and his or her wicket is fairly put down by the action of a fielder. That's quite important. A member of the fielding side needs to touch the ball after it has been hit by the batter or it has been missed by the batter to affect a run out. Either one of the 11 members of the fielding side needs to touch the ball before it hits the stumps. That can happen even though no ball has been called and whether or not a run is being attempted. And we will unpack different scenarios throughout this law. So in what circumstances is the batter out, run out? The batter is out, run out now we're looking at what circumstances the batter is not out, run out. A batter is not out, run out if he or she has been within his or her ground and has subsequently left it to avoid injury when the wicket is put down. So if a batter makes good his or her ground and a throw comes in and that throw is directed straight at the batter, they can leave their ground so that the ball doesn't hit them. If the ball hits the stumps when they're now out of their ground, that batter is protected by this law. They will be not out. But what's important in this scenario is that the batter needed to be within his or her ground first and only left it to avoid injury. Then they will be protected by this law. If the ball has not subsequently touched a fielder after the bowler has entered his or her delivery stride and before the wicket is put down, then the batter will not be out, run out. I mentioned a few sentences earlier that there needs to be intervention from a member of the fielding side to affect a run out. I had a match many years ago, 2017, I think it was, where the Warriors were playing against the Dolphins. The Dolphins were bowling. Robbie Fryling was the bowler. Right arm over the wicket, bowling to Mo Fally, who used to play for the Warriors at the time. Bowler bowled the ball. Mo Fally, striker, hit the ball directly towards the non-striker who was standing on the other side of the stumps. So Robbie Fryling, right arm over the wicket bowler, standing this side of the stump, and Lisiba Mwepa, who was the non-striker, standing on the other side of the stumps. Lisiba Mwepa was out of his crease as any good non-striker would be, backing up, waiting for a quick single when the ball came straight at him, and he tried to avoid the ball hitting him, moved his bat out the way, but was a little bit too late. So the ball hit the bat and then went on to hit the stumps, and he was outside of his crease. There was a huge appeal from Keshav Maharaj, who was the captain of the Dolphins at the time, from mid-off. And I was very confused, and I thought to myself, well, the ball has touched someone. So yes, this non-striker is out of his ground, so I must give this out. So I gave it out, but immediately as I gave it out, I felt that something was wrong. And my partner was Johan Kluter, a former international umpire. He scratched on his radio to get my attention, called me towards him. We consulted. He asked me, Tom, did Robbie Fryling, the bowler, get a hand on the ball before the ball went on to the non-striker and then the stumps? I said, no, the bowler was on completely the opposite side of the pitch. He didn't get close to the ball. So because Robbie Fryling, the bowler, did not get a hand onto that ball, the ball only hit the non-striker and then it went on to hit the stumps. This law saved Lisiba Mwepa, the non-striker. the ball did not touch a fielder after the bowler had entered the delivery stride and before the wicket was put down. So I had to cancel my out decision and then give Lesiba Mwepo not out. Something I'll never forget, and a mistake that I made that I hope you never make, because you will learn from my mistake. So a member of the fielding side needs to touch the ball for a run out to be affected. When else is the striker not out? The striker is not out if he or she is out stumped. And also, law protects the striker if a bowler bowls a no ball and the striker is out of his or her ground, maybe double stepping. But once they miss the ball, they don't attempt a run. And the wicket is put down by the wicket keeper without the intervention of any other fielder. So this, if you read it, is a stumping. You cannot be out stumped off a no ball, and you cannot be out run out if it is a no ball and the striker is not attempting a run and the wicket is fairly put down by the wicket keeper without the intervention of any other fielder. And there is an animation video in the Stumped law that will show us this law in action. Now let's look at one of the more controversial modes of dismissal, which is a run out. It is the non-striker leaving his or her ground early. The bowler is allowed, and there is a window period in which the non-striker can be run out by the bowler. The window period starts when the bowler starts his or her run up for that delivery. So when the ball comes into play, and up until the moment that the bowler is expected to release the ball in his or her delivery stride, that is when the window period closes for a run out of the non-striker to be affected by the bowler. The non-striker will be run out if he or she is out of his or her ground when his or her wicket is broken by the bowler throwing the ball at the wicket, or by the bowler's hand holding the ball, putting the wicket down fairly, whether or not the ball is subsequently delivered. Let's watch a video to explain this mode of dismissal.
Running out the non-striker. Running out the non-striker occurs when a bowler runs out a batsman who has strayed too early out of the popping crease by removing the bails. It is a much debated form of dismissal, with some suggesting that a warning should be given. However, leaving his or her ground early is an attempt by the non-striker to gain an unfair advantage, and it puts a batsman at risk of getting out. The law doesn't require the bowler to give a warning, and he or she is entitled to run out the non-striker until the moment when he or she would normally have been expected to release the ball, in which case it's perfectly fair for the bowler to run the non-striker out. For more detail on this perfectly legal practice, see Law 4116 in the MCC's The Laws of Cricket.
You'll notice here that the narrator mentions this law as being Law 41.16. This was in 2017 when there was a huge change in the laws. Since then, in 2022, this law has been moved to the run-out law. So it's no longer considered unfair play by the bowling side to run out a non-striker who's left his or her ground early. it has been moved to law 37, which is run out. Sorry, law 38, which is run out, to put the onus on the non-striker to be in his or her crease until the ball is delivered by the bowler. That's why no warning is required, and it is not considered unfair play. It should be judged as an umpire based on whether or not the non-striker is in his or her ground and whether the bowler has put the wicket down fairly within that prescribed window period. Remember, I mentioned that the bowler can put down the non-striker's wicket as soon as the ball comes into play. That is when the bowler starts his or her run-up, or latest before the expected release point. And that is the release point in terms of where the arm, the bowling arm is. So if the bowling arm never gets to the vertical, which is the normal release point for most bowlers, then the bowler has an opportunity to run out the non-striker if the non-striker is out of his or her ground. So now we're going to watch two examples, one of a correct execution of running out of the non-striker, and the second video will be an incorrect example of an attempt to run out the non-striker by the bowler. Let's watch the correct execution first.
No, I'm not so sure. I know it's in the laws of the game.
I'm ready with my decision for the big screen.
The TV umpire correctly gave the English batter out, run out. Some people will argue that Deepti Sharma, the bowler, had got to her expected point of delivery in terms of the feet. Because yes, once her front foot lands, you would expect that she would deliver the ball. But remember, I said it is the expected point of delivery in terms of the arm that we are looking for. And as long as she has not completed her bowling action, she can go and put down the wicket at the non-striker's end. And if the non-striker is out of his or her crease, the non-striker will be out, run out. Okay, so that is an example of the correct execution of running out the non-striker. Now let's look at an example of an incorrect attempt at running out of the non-striker.
Third umpire director, got a review for run out. We want to check whether the bowler's arm has gone past the vertical. That's satisfied the law for run out at the bowler's end.
Yep, this is critical because that's actually correct. Yep. So once the back foot is where most people
roll it through, roll it through, roll it through, roll it through, and roll it through further. Now his arm's gone past the vertical, therefore not out. Repeat. Decision for the big screen will be not out.
Tell you what, that's Sean Craig in the hot seat, and that's a very interesting decision. The right call from the umpire. Yep.
The right call from the umpire. Why? Because Adam Zampa, in this picture we can see, has gone past the expected delivery point in terms of the arm. The arm got past the vertical as described by the TV umpire. Yes, he put the wicket down fairly, but because his bowling arm went past the expected release point, the TV umpire correctly gave the non-striker not out. Obviously, in recreational and club cricket matches, we don't have the luxury of a TV umpire to help us with such decisions. So the best protocol is for you as the bowlers and umpire to call and signal dead ball so that you can go and consult with your colleague, because your strikers and umpire is in a better position to recognize whether or not the bowler had gone past the expected release point with his or her arm before putting the wicket down fairly. As a bowlers and umpire, you are watching the back foot landing, you're watching the front foot landing. You are not specifically looking at the arm and the delivery swing. You only try and follow the ball once you have checked the feet. So buy yourself some time, go towards your bowlers and umpire, and if it is a club match or a recreational match, you can also look to see where the captain is of the fielding side. Ask them if they want to go ahead with this appeal or if they would consider withdrawing this appeal, because this is always a controversial mode of dismissal. If they are happy to go ahead with the appeal, then you ask your partner at striker's end, did the bowler go past his expected release point in terms of the arm or not? If they did go past the expected release point with their arm, as Adam Zampa did in this example, then not out. If they did not go past their expected release point in terms of the arm, as per the previous example, Dipti Sharma, and the wicket was fairly put down with the non-striker out of his or her crease, then you give it out, run out. That is how we handle what is commonly referred to as a man-cad appeal, running out of the non-striker by the bowler. That is law 38 done. Now we move on to law 39, stumped. Once again, we have a animation video to talk us through this law.
Stumped. All batsmen fear being stumped, and all wicket-keepers dream of stumping batsmen. So let's be clear about the law. The only player who can stump a batsman is this fellow, the wicket-keeper. A stumping can take place provided that the ball is not a no ball. You can be stumped off a wide, however. Here, for example, the batsman has moved out of his or her ground to play the ball, but has missed it and has not attempted a run. The wicket is fairly put down by the wicket-keeper without the intervention of another fielder. When all these conditions are met, the batsman will find that he or she has indeed been stumped. It's also okay for the ball to rebound onto the stumps off any part of the wicket-keeper, including his or her protective equipment or helmet. If it is a no ball, the batsman will not be out-stumped and is also protected from being run out as long as he or she is not attempting a run. Don't be stumped about stumping. Get a copy of the Blue Book and study Law 39.
Last law that we are taking you through in this course, after which I'll go through today's answers to the quiz questions, and then I'll take you through a match preparation presentation. Law 40, timed out. How and when does a batter get timed out? After the fall of a wicket or the retirement of a batter, the incoming batter must, unless time has been called, so unless at the end of a session, be ready to receive the ball, or if their partner is going to be on strike, for the other batter to receive the next ball within 3 minutes of the dismissal or retirement of the previous batter. If this requirement is not met, the incoming batter will be timed out. Now you'll see 3 minutes there and you'll think, gee, that's a long time. Is it 3 minutes in all formats of the game? The 3 minutes is as per law, but the International Cricket Council has shortened that period for the different formats. In Test match cricket, a batter has 2 minutes to be ready. In one-day international cricket, a batter has 2 minutes to be ready. In T20 matches around the world, it's 90 seconds. And a few T10 matches that I've umpired, the batter has 75 seconds to be ready for the next delivery. However, remember that our exam is based on law. So if a question comes up on timed out, then we must use 3 minutes as the limit that a batter has to be ready after the dismissal of the previous batter. The bowler does not get credit for a batter being dismissed out, timed out. In the 2023 World Cup, Angelo Matthews was infamously dismissed, timed out. The first batter in men's international cricket to be timed out. And we'll watch a video that explained the whole scenario. But please remember, in men's one-day international matches, the limit is not 3 minutes. It is 2 minutes for a batter to be ready after the dismissal of a previous batter. So Adrian Holstock, South African umpire, who was the fourth umpire for this particular match, he gave the explanation as to why Angelo Matthews was timed out. But let's first watch the incident unfolding.
I think Angelo Matthews brought the wrong helmet. Had to really ask the 12th man to get me another helmet.
Should have been ready, is what the message is. Was he ready to take strike? They have appealed Bangladesh.
I think Angelo Matthews is trying to explain to Saqib that there's something wrong with his.
Matthews was not, and hence been given out. Dear, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Angelo Matthews given out without facing a ball. Timed out. You have to be ready to face the first ball within 2 minutes. Matthews was not, and hence been given out. That's a first timed out that I've come across in the recent past. 135 for 5.
So let's hear fourth umpire Adrian Holstock's explanation of the scenario.
Adrian, really sorry to put you in this position. First of all, nobody wants to be talking about peripheral incidents, but just give us an indication of what transpired out in the middle with the Matthews dismissal.
Thanks, Ian. First, I'd just like to say that and mention that the ICC World Cup playing conditions supersede the MCC laws of cricket. When it comes to timed out, at a fall of a wicket or even a retirement of a batsman, the incoming batter has to be in position and ready to receive the ball within 2 minutes, or his other partner to receive the ball in 2 minutes. And we have certain protocols here within the PCT where the TV umpire, at a fall of a wicket, he basically monitors the 2 minutes, and he will then relay the message through to the on-field umpires. And in the instance this afternoon, the batter wasn't ready to receive the ball within those 2 minutes, even before the strap became an issue for him.
Right, so that, just to be clear, even before the strap burst and became an issue, the time had already elapsed.
That's correct, yeah. So the 2 minutes had already elapsed before he had received the next delivery, yeah.
Who initiated the appeal?
No, so according to law, or in the playing conditions, the fielding captain requested or initiated the appeal to Murray Erasmus, who was the standing umpire, that he wanted to appeal for timed out.
So was that before the strap came loose, or was that after that incident?
Well, like I said to you, just after the strap came loose, the fielding captain can basically request to appeal for timed out.
So in that case, there is no discretion to be used for equipment malfunction?
No, I think as a batsman, I think you need to make sure that you have all your equipment in place in order to make sure you get here, because you actually have to be ready to receive the ball within 2 minutes, not ready to prepare or take your guard. So technically, you should be there within maybe 15 seconds to make sure all those things are in place before you actually receive the ball.
Right, and they're telling me time is up. There's a number of questions that I'd like to ask. I can't. Adrian, thank you very much for your time.
No, pleasure.
So there we have it, a thorough explanation from International Cricket Council Elite Panel Umpire Adrian Holstock. Just at a lower level, if we are having to face and adjudicate a timed out appeal, good umpiring practice would be to find out as to why the batter has taken so long to be ready to face his or her first delivery. Also, good idea to have with you a stopwatch, so that at the fall of each wicket, you start your stopwatch, because it's difficult to judge 90 seconds just by looking at your watch. So if you find that a batter has taken longer than the prescribed amount of time to be ready to face their first delivery, as per the playing conditions, or in the absence of playing conditions, you revert to law. It is a good idea to ask the batter who has taken so long why they took so long. I had a match where a team was very short on equipment, and they were sharing pads and they were sharing bats. So every time a batter went out, then they would give their pads and their bat to the next batter coming in. So you can imagine that could easily take longer than 2 minutes. And for that reason, I found it a wholly acceptable reason to take longer than 2 minutes. That's why I said to the fielding side, I will not be giving the batter out, timed out. So let's let the spirit of the game lead us. But of course, we cannot force the fielding side to withdraw an appeal, but we have all rights to not give a batter out, timed out, if there was a wholly acceptable reason as to why they were late. In Angelo Matthews' scenario, at the highest level, your equipment has to be 100%. There's no excuse. And as Adrian Holstock said, even before the helmet became an issue, he had already taken more than 2 minutes. So tough one for Angelo Matthews, but quite rightly given out, timed out. So ladies and gents, those are the 40 laws that we are presenting to you. I am now going to go back to the questions that were posed, and we will go through them together in terms of what is out or not out. The first quiz question that was posed this evening by Abdullah was a hit wicket scenario. And I'm going to share my screen and show you that video again. And I'm different, Abdullah. I like to hear the commentators and what they know and what they don't know. Adds a bit of theater, and it might confuse you. It might confirm your thoughts. So let's listen with the commentary, and then I will switch the commentary off for the replay to talk you through the law.
What ball? That's what can happen when you're set and you think the pitch is behaving very nicely. End of the over. Now what has happened here? Well, has he somehow touched the stumps? What's going on here?
One of the Brendan Taylor, I think, after he's played the shot, has knocked the bails off with his bat. Now, I didn't see what was happening. I just heard it in my ear. And Shakib Al Hassan has gone and appealed to Murray Erasmus. So discussion going on between those two men.
Let's see what has happened. He's fine. It's a legal delivery. It'll be a big blow if Brendan Taylor departs in that fashion. Nothing. What does he do? Oops, that's gone. That's gone.
Okay, so we know what the commentator thinks, but is the commentator correct? Let's go back to the law. The law is quite clear. The window period for a hit wicket appeal starts when the bowler enters his or her delivery stride and ends when the striker has either A, completed his or her shot, or B, has not taken off immediately for a single after the shot. Okay, so in this scenario, clearly Brendan Taylor is not attempting to take off for a single. So we need to look at whether he has completed the shot before or after he puts his wicket down fairly. So let's watch the last bit of this replay. Brendan Taylor attempts a ramp shot. He misses it. And then he is a bit annoyed at himself, puts his shoulders down, and then in almost attempting a second shot, or what they call a shadow shot, with his right hand, his left hand swings backwards and puts the wicket down. Now, I'm not a cricket coach. I don't have any coaching credentials. However, I know that a ramp shot is completed round about there. The follow through for a ramp shot is upwards, not downwards back behind a batter's body. So for me, the shot is completed here. Maybe if you want to stretch it, definitely here. You can see this is the jump in annoyance that he hasn't hit the ball. The shot is definitely complete. He has finished receiving the delivery. That is actually the wording that the law uses. Receiving the delivery. He has completed receiving the delivery. He's not attempting a run. So the window period for hit wicket at this point is now closed. So yes, he does put his wicket down and it does look a bit awkward. And you can see he's quite sheepish afterwards. He turns and chats to Murray Erasmus to try and explain that he was just shadow batting after the shot when he put his wicket down. This should have been given not out hit wicket. And the correct answer to question 35.1, not out hit wicket. Okay. On to the next quiz question that was posed by Abdullah. It is a obstructing the field question. I'm going to share my screen again. So here we have, and again, I'm going to play the commentary. And the commentators actually in this scenario are very good in their explanation of the decision.
Oh, danger, danger. Now then, what have they done here? Dead ball. Called dead ball. They've fired up South Africa. Now he's called dead ball to sort out the issue. Well, he's gone across to the other side of the pitch, and that'll be something umpires will take into consideration. He's on one side, gets over the other side. He's not looking at the ball strikes him. Would he have got in?
He was looking at the ball initially, though, wasn't he? Wants the single. Livingston calls him back. At this point, Roy gets across to the other side, and he is watching the ball. Whether you can say he's got himself deliberately between the ball and the stumps, I'm not sure. Come on, umpire Lloyd.
And it's Jason Roy.
Well, it's Jason Roy who's disappointed, and the crowd as well. A ring of boos goes around the ground, but I'm sure the third umpire has given him out because Roy has crossed paths. He's got over to the other side of the pitch, got himself between ball and stumps, and in the third umpire's opinion, he's done that deliberately. So Roy's innings, a very good innings, comes to an end. 67 for 45, 133 for 3.
In the TV umpire's opinion, Jason Roy deliberately crossed the pitch to get in the way of the throw, and that is by definition obstructing the field. Doesn't matter whether the ball was going to hit the stumps or not, and whether Jason Roy would have made his ground or not. The fact that Jason Roy willfully got into the way of the throw has risked himself being given out, obstructing the field, and the umpire correctly gave Jason Roy out, obstructing the field. I believe that is all the quiz questions that we posed this evening. I'm just going to make double sure by going through all the slides. And I hope and thank all of you for your contribution in attempting to answer those quiz questions. Yeah, that is all the quiz questions that were posed. So now I'm going to go on to a match preparation presentation, and this will hopefully get all of you ready for your first match after passing the exam. I will be giving all of you the details of the Umpires Association closest to you, wherever you are in the cricketing world. So that way you can apply to become a member of that association and show them your Cricket South Africa Level 1 umpiring certificate and ask to start umpiring. But of course, umpiring is not a theoretical discipline, it's a practical discipline. So apart from this match preparation presentation, we also have a lot of videos on our YouTube channel, which will practically get you ready for umpiring. So let's talk about dress code, umpiring equipment, and pre-match duties that you need to carry out before a match. And this presentation will be sent to all of you who are on the mailing list, who have been receiving course material and logistics emails, as well as the lecture reminder emails, as well as the lecture recording emails. If you haven't got any emails from me as yet, please type your email address into the chat box. I will add you to the mailing list. You will all receive this presentation tomorrow morning, along with the link to the recording of this lecture. If we look at dress code, first things that you notice about the two umpires at the bottom, ICC Elite Panel Alim Dar, former Elite now, and current ICC Elite Panel umpire Kumar Dharmasena from Sri Lanka. They look the same. They are both dressed neatly with their hats, ICC headband, nice shades, similar tops, ironed, clean, belts, pants, dark black pants, which are not faded by the sun. You need to replace your fading black pants as soon as they start fading. It looks quite untidy if an umpire is standing with brown pants instead of black pants because they have been burnt by the sun after a few games. Some pants last longer than others. You need to, when you go shopping for formal black pants, ask the shop personnel which pants are going to stay black the longest. And hopefully they will sell you the pants that last 1, 2, maybe even 3 seasons. Please, if you are going to wear a vest underneath your umpiring shirt, make sure it's the same color as the shirt that you are wearing. So you can see Kumar Dharmasena has got a white vest underneath his white standing shirt. If you are umpiring a limited overs match and they are using a white ball or a pink ball, obviously you will not be wearing a white shirt and a white hat. You will be wearing a colored shirt and probably a black hat. At Western Province Cricket Umpires Association, we do supply our members with white standing shirts and gray standing shirts, and they don't need to pay cash for their shirts. They need to stand in 5 matches. And after those 5 matches, they will have paid their match fees, will have paid for their membership fees. They will have paid for the clothing that they're going to get from the association. Your own hat. A lot of umpires, when they start out, they use floppy playing hats, which is fine as long as it doesn't have a team logo on the hat. If you can get a Panama hat, it looks a lot smarter. And if you've got a headband, that completes the look. Running shoes are recommended because they offer support and comfort. And when it comes to socks, also, I prefer, it's not a rule, but if you are wearing white shoes, then white socks look better. If you're wearing black shoes, then black socks look better. We don't want to be too flashy. We don't want to be the center of attraction. So a modest watch, a modest belt, and a modest pair of sunglasses. Nothing too flashy. Some of the players wear big gold chains. We as umpires don't want to be flashy. We want to look modest and just be comfortable. We should not be drawing attention to ourselves wearing overly flashy sunglasses, belts, or watches. What on-field equipment do we need? And there are pictures of some of this equipment on the next slide. A clicker, as we all know, helps us to keep count of the number of balls bowled in an over and the number of overs bowled in an innings. A bowling card is where we write all the bowlers who have bowled and how many overs they've bowled and when. We need a pen, and usually a good idea to also have a spare pen in your pocket. A bowler's marker is very useful because for their run-ups, bowlers do often mark out their run-ups and paint where they need to start their run-up, but the marker is useful because if there's 10 different lines of bowlers, they might not remember which one is their line. So always have a bowler's marker available for the bowlers. And you can find those in South Africa at Sportsman's Warehouse. Heavy bails, most clubs only have a set of stumps with normal light bails. Heavy bails are difficult to find. Sportsman's Warehouse claim to sell heavy bails, but they're not really heavy. They can't withstand the strong winds in Cape Town. So if you can get somebody to drill a hole in your bales and put lead in them, just to make them from the 25 gram per bale that you get normally to 40 grams that are heavy enough to withstand winds, that would be ideal. A small scissors or a nail clipper to cut any loose parts of a ball. Sometimes the string of the seam comes loose. Sometimes on the side of a ball, it can start peeling. So you just cut that off using your small scissors or a nail clipper. Then a ball gauge is to check if a ball is out of shape. We went through that in law number 4. Optional extras, a spike key for the players to tighten their spikes if need be, and sweets to keep your energy levels up. That's what you take with you on the field in your pockets. Some umpires like to use a moon bag. I'm not a fan of a moon bag. I think it looks too big and bulky, but it is quite useful, especially if you're one of those umpires who wants to carry a lot of equipment on the field with you. So this is what some of the equipment looks like. Top left is a bowler's marker. Bottom left is a ball gauge. In the middle is an example of a bowling card. Top right is a clicker or a counter, whichever term you use. And bottom right is a spike key. What equipment should you have in your bag? You definitely need to have a spare standing shirt. Sometimes at lunch, you could have tomato sauce spilling on your white shirt. It won't look good you going out for the second innings with a big red mark on your white shirt. Tape measure to make sure that the creases are correctly measured and the pitch is the correct length. You need a small tape measure of 5 meters to measure the creases, and you need a 30-meter tape measure to measure the length of the pitch as well as the fielding restriction circle. Always good to have a copy of the law book with you, and make sure you've got the latest edition of the law book. The laws are going to be updated by the custodians of the Laws of Cricket, Marylebone Cricket Club, and the new laws will be effective 1 October 2026. And earlier this week, I think it was yesterday or Monday, I was asked how many law books Western Province Cricket Umpires Association needs. So we should be getting those sometime in the next month, and they will be distributed to our members during the winter. We do have a electronic version of the law book, a PDF version that is attached on most of the emails that I sent out with the course material. I'll make sure tomorrow morning it is attached when I send out a copy of this presentation as well as the recording of this lecture. For now, we are only distributing the 2022 law book. We only will start distributing the 2026 version of the law book, I think from around June, July, August this year. You need to also have a copy of your playing conditions for that particular match or tournament that you're involved in your bag. Team sheets, captains' reports, and violation reports. If they are not done electronically, then you need to have physical copies of those. Always a good idea to have spare balls, and those spare balls need to be the same brand and format of the ball being used in the match. Sunscreen should probably be at the top of this list. Very important to always apply sunscreen, even in cloudy conditions. and I've put an exclamation mark next to toilet paper because I've had an experience before where I went to a match and in the toilets of the clubhouse, there was no toilet paper in any of the toilets. So that can be quite an awkward situation to be stuck in. So always just prepare by having your own toilet paper available in your bag. Optional extras in your bag: eye drops, deodorant, lip balm, and if you are picky about your food or if you have quite strict dietary requirements, then good idea to pack your own lunch just in case the lunch provided by the home team is not according to your dietary requirements. So this is what some of the paperwork at Western Province Cricket Association looks like. On the left is a team sheet, and on the right is a captain's report on umpires. Since this presentation was put together, we have moved away from physical captain's reports being filled in by pen. We've moved to online captain's reports being filled in and sent by email. But it contains the same information as you will see on this physical form. What we still do manually is a code of behavior violation report. Needs to be filled in by both umpires and signed by the player who is being charged. At provincial level in Cricket South Africa matches, we need the captain of the player being charged as well as the player being charged to sign the report. I see at club cricket level, we don't actually require the signature of the player being reported. Let's move on to pre-match duties, and it's split up in two parts. The first part is the night before the match. What should you do and what should you not do? And then the second part would be the pre-match duties on match day at the field. So the night before the match, revise your playing conditions. You could find yourself umpiring a T20 veterans match on a Wednesday evening, and then on a Saturday, you are umpiring a 50-over men's club Premier League match. And then on a Sunday, you are umpiring a women's 50-over Premier League match. All three have different playing conditions, so you need to always refresh yourself with the playing conditions of the match you're going to umpire the next day. Make sure you get your 8 hours of sleep in so you're fresh the next day. Please confirm directions to the field if you are unsure and you're going there for the first time. Don't wait until the next morning when you are driving to try and call your partner for directions. Do that the night before. Also a good idea to iron your clothes and pack your bag the night before so that the morning of the match, you don't have any of that admin to handle. Fill in the captain's report if you still need to fill in a captain's report, and fill in the details at the top of a team sheet so that the captains or the scorers or whoever fills in the team sheets only needs to fill in the names of the players. You can do the rest of the admin of the team sheets and or the captain's reports beforehand. Always a good idea, if you are still filling out the captain's report manually, is only to write your name, because your partner, even though they have been appointed and confirmed, might change last minute. So you don't want a situation where you've got Abdullah Steenkamp's name as your partner, but then on the morning of the match, you find a different umpire who's going to be partnering you. So what do we do at the field before the start of a match? We need to, as per the playing conditions of Western Province Cricket Association Club Cricket, be at the field at least an hour before the scheduled start of play. This is as per the playing conditions. Remember, law says umpires need to be at the field 45 minutes before the scheduled start of play. Why do we need to be at the field so early? We need to ensure for Western Province club cricket matches that the covers are off if the weather is good an hour before the scheduled start of play. Good umpiring practice, wait for your partner before going out to inspect the field and the pitch. It doesn't look good if one umpire goes out on their own without their partner. Collect fully completed team sheets before the toss. Remember that the toss can take place in the 15-minute window period. Earliest 30 minutes before the scheduled start of play, latest 15 minutes before the start of play. At the toss, you need to have both teams completed team sheets. So get them from the scorers or get them from the captains or get them from the coaches before going to the pitch for the toss. Confirm that both teams have the correct match balls to be used. In any match, it is not fair if the two teams are using different new balls. It needs to be the same brand, and if the one team is using a two-piece, the other team should also be using a two-piece. If the one team is using a four-piece, the other team should be using a four-piece. This will be detailed in the playing conditions of a tournament or a league, but in the absence of playing conditions, then you need to discuss and confirm this at the toss. We need to agree the boundary and the allowances for boundaries. For example, if there's a tree in the middle of the field or rugby poles or soccer poles in the field, what is the local custom in terms of the ball hitting that object in the field of play? Ask the home captain what that custom is. Don't make up a new ruling for that particular match. As mentioned, will an obstacle within the boundary be regarded as a boundary, or will just play continue? Find out from the home captain what the local custom is. Are there any special conditions affecting the match? Is the King of England going to come down at 12 o'clock to greet all the players? Then we need a 15-minute interval for that. Make sure anything different out of the norm is discussed at the toss. We need to make sure that we synchronize our watches with our partners and our scorers before the start of the match. Are the wickets pitched properly? We've seen that the stumps are not pitched in the middle of the bowling crease line. They are pitched on the back edge of the bowling crease line. Those bits of attention to detail show your professionalism, and make sure that you have a spare stump and spare balls and a spare bail with the scorers, so that if a stump breaks, if a bail breaks, or if a ball gets lost or hit out of shape, then it doesn't take a long time for a replacement to be brought onto the field. Measure the creases, measure the pitch length and the fielding restriction circle if you are playing a limited overs match. Even if you've been at that field before, the pitches do change, so the measurements might change, and of course the fielding restriction circle would also need to move for a different strip being used at the same venue. Check that the sight screens are in line. At international and provincial level, we need to have sight screens 2 pitches wide of the playing pitch. That is the minimum requirement. At club level, most side screens are not that big, but just make sure if they are movable, then they are in the best place position behind each end. Check whether the covers, the roller, and the sawdust are present, and ask the ground staff where they are kept and how much they have, especially if you arrive at a ground and there has been overnight rain. You will need sawdust, you will need Hessian, you will need access to all the resources that they have to get the field ready. Ensure that the covers are on the side of the field and they are dry, because you don't want a ball being hit over the boundary and into a wet cover, because a wet ball is a fast bowler's nightmare and a spin bowler's nightmare as well, because they'll struggle to grip it. As a team, both umpires need to speak at the pre-toss discussion with the umpires, with the captains. So one umpire might talk about discipline and player behavior and over rates, and then the other umpire might talk about special playing conditions relating to that match or tournament. Especially at the beginning of the season, we just need to refresh the captains and update them on any new playing conditions or laws at the pre-toss conversation. Very importantly, no conversations about how the pitch might play and who should bat or bowl first. Yes, you can have those conversations between yourselves as the two umpires in the change room, or if you are alone on the field, but let those conversations be between the two of you only and not be heard by any players, management, or supporters around the ground. On the field, make your decisions without fear or favor and enjoy your umpiring journey. It is a long, hot, and sometimes difficult profession that we have got ourselves into, but we do it because we love the game, and the position that we are at as especially bowlers and umpires are the best positions to watch a game of cricket. So enjoy it. Take every ball one at a time, and you will never know where this beautiful game will take you. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is all the content that we have to present to you today. I'm now going to go through the chat box and go through all the questions that have been posed. And I am glad to tell everyone that Abdullah is with us today. He's got through his Ramadan prayers and is available to engage during this evening's questions and answer sessions. First question from Corney Cairns. If the ball lodges in the batter's helmet, is he or she allowed to prevent a fielder from retrieving the ball from the helmet? And is it out or not out? Does the ball become dead, and does it then count as one of the over? Is that if it's a dead ball, Abdullah, will it count as a legal delivery as one of the 6 in the over, or does it need to be rebowled? Abdullah, I'm bringing you straight into the action this evening. This is your first question and answer session with us.
Yeah. Tom, I was an opening bat in my playing days, playing club cricket in Cape Town. I enjoyed facing the first ball of the game. So no issues taking the first question. So, Corney, let me first answer you. No, the ball does not become dead. As soon as the ball lodges in the oh, sorry. Tom, did you say batter's helmet or fielder's helmet?
No, Abdullah, it's in the batter's helmet, stuck in the batter's helmet. And now the batter is preventing the fielder from retrieving the ball from the batter's helmet.
Okay. So under the dead ball law, as soon as the ball lodges in the equipment of the striker or of the batter, the ball immediately becomes dead, and anything that happens after that is irrelevant. So in this scenario, as soon as that ball lodged, Corneille, that ball immediately became dead, and batter will then be not out. Anything that happens after that is irrelevant. A lot of players don't know the law. You as an umpire can intervene there by just calling, informing the players, dead ball players, the ball is dead as soon as it's lodged in there. And yes, the ball will count as one for the over. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dulab. Next question is from Neville in the USA. If the ball lodges in the fielder's helmet and then the helmet falls to the ground, and if the fielder removes the ball and appeals, is that considered out? So let's imagine that a striker played a pull shot and the pull shot went off the bat in the air straight into the short leg fielder's helmet, and because of the force of the ball, the helmet flew off the head of the short leg fielder and landed on the ground, but the ball did not touch the ground and stayed stuck in the grill of the helmet. Abdullah, if the fielder then pulls the ball out and claims the catch, is that out caught or is that not out?
That is not out caught, Tom. As soon as the helmet hits the ground, that is seen as the ball being on the ground, and hence not out caught. Yes, the ball will still technically be alive, even though it's in there, but in terms of the catch, not out caught, Tom.
So Abdullah, even if it's still stuck in the helmet, the ball itself has not touched the ground, but the helmet is on the ground, it is still not out.
It is still not out. We received guidance from the ICC on this exact example. And the ICC, via the Almanac document, has this exact example in there, where they guide us by telling us if the ball stuck in the helmet falls off the fielder's head, lands on the floor, even though the ball didn't make contact with the ground, that is seen as the ball being technically on the ground, hence the striker should not be given out caught. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Next scenario is from Ogon. If the batter dives and he hits the wicket with his bat, is it considered out hit wicket or is it not out? So say, for example, a batter double steps, misses the ball, and then tries to get back into his or her crease to not be stumped, and dives back into their crease. And in doing so, their bat slides into the stumps. Abdullah, would that be out hit wicket or is that not out hit wicket?
So Tom, this will be not out hit wicket. This is in the law. I think it's the third or fourth point under not out hit wicket, where the law is clear and telling us if a batter tried to avoid being run out or stumped and hits the wicket and put the wicket down, the striker will not be out stumped or run out, or whatever happened.
Or hit wicket.
Oh, sorry, will not be out hit wicket. Yeah, it's the fourth point. I've covered it this evening under the not out section of hit wicket. I think it's the third or the fourth point. Over, Tom.
Correct. Thanks, Dula. I think I remember you telling a story of your playing days where you dived into your stumps and you were given out hit wicket, even though it was the completion of the third run, I think.
Yeah, it happened actually on two occasions where it the it was the completion of in both instances completion of the second run. So I was the striker, hit the ball to fine leg, uh, completed one run, turned back for the second. The ball then came in, so I saw it was tight. So I put in a dive to make my ground, and in diving, I was sliding on the floor, and then I made contact with the stumps, and there was a huge appeal by the fielding side, and we had player umpires back then, and my own teammate gave me out a hit wicket. And I also didn't know the law at the time. And for me, it was obvious. Yes, I slid into the wicket. The wicket was down. So I accepted the decision. It's only once I did my level 1 umpiring course did I realize, yes, I think I could have scored a century that day if I wasn't given out hit wicket. And I said to you, it happened twice in my playing career. So yeah, I think my average should have been 2 not out, should have been 10 average higher than what I ended up. But anyway, over Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Next question is from Kevin Barnes. You said in your presentation of the bold law and the court law that bold is the big boss and then court is the next boss. So Kevin wants to know, what is the further hierarchy of dismissals after bold and court? Which are the next dismissals that take precedence, if any? Or how, if there are two modes of dismissals possible, how would we judge which one to give out?
So Kev, if it's not bold or court, we then go chronological, which happens first. That is how we will decide which dismissal is going to be. Over, Tom.
Perfect. Thanks, Dula. Just going through the answers to the quiz questions. I see a lot of you gave the out obstructing the field correctly. Well done. Tarun wants to know, what is man-cad out? What is bowler action? Tarun, I think you'll need to ask that question verbally because I think I went through what is out and what is not out, what is the opening of the window period and what is the closing of the window period. And yeah, so maybe just put your hand up at the end of these questions and we can understand your question a little bit clearer to give you a full answer. Tertius Geldenes asks, running out non-striker, even though no ball bowled, ball taken as one of the 6 legal balls in an over. Abdullah, let's say it is not a no ball. Let's say the bowler in his or her action knocks over the stumps at the bowler's end and the non-striker is out of his or her crease and the ball is delivered. Is that going to be considered one of the legal deliveries in the over, whether the batter is out or not out? That is my first question to you.
So
and
Tom,
then my second. Yes.
Okay, let me answer your first question. I've got a question. So you said the ball was delivered.
Yes. So Tertius.
Yeah, but if the ball is delivered and the bowler puts the wicket down, that's automatically a no ball. So that would not count as one of the legal balls of the over.
Correct. Thank you. Now the second question was actually asked on Monday. And I told the person who asked the question that we will deal with it today. Does the bowler have to intentionally put the wicket down at the striker's end? or can it be an accident? And if they see that the non-striker is out of his or her crease, then they can appeal because they did put the wicket down fairly.
So Tom, for the purpose of this course, seeing that we're only covering the laws of cricket, and I'm going to answer this question only as per the laws of cricket and not as per playing conditions in many competitions across the world. If you want me to answer what the playing conditions say as well, I can do it, but I don't want to confuse everyone. But as per the laws of cricket, Tom, even an accidental breaking of the stumps by the bowler, and if the non-striker is not behind the popping crease when the wicket is down, non-striker should be given out, run out on appeal by the fielding side. So the law makes provision for even an accidental breaking by the bowler on appeal for the non-striker to be run out. That is as per the laws of cricket. I don't know if you want me to cover playing conditions as well, because I don't want to confuse everyone. Because playing conditions is totally different to how the law sees it.
I think we can, Abdullah, because most of our candidates will see something on television, which is based on playing conditions, and then they will wonder why we taught them differently to what they're seeing.
Yeah, so just to emphasize again, according to the laws makes provision for even an accidental breaking of the stumps. So accidental bowler breaking the stumps, batter not, non-striker not behind the crease, on appeal by the fielding side, non-striker to be given out the run-out. That's the law. The playing conditions for most competitions across the world, the International Cricket Council, their competitions from Test cricket to ODI to T20 cricket, even here in South Africa. So Cricket South Africa's provincial competitions from 4-day to 50 over to 10 to T20, they all have the same playing conditions as the International Cricket Council, and the playing conditions states to run out the non-striker, there needs to be an attempt by the bowler to run out the non-striker. So an accidental breaking of the wicket will not count as per the playing condition. There needs to be an attempt by the bowler to run out the non-striker for a run out of the non-striker to be valid. That is as per the current playing conditions of the ICC, of Cricket South Africa, and I'm sure most of the competitions across the world, because most of us try to follow what the International Cricket Council do. So must be an attempt by the bowler to run out the non-striker. If there's no attempt by the bowler to run out the non-striker will not be given out the run out. If it's accidental, as per the playing condition, not out, run out of the non-striker. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Zimi once watched a primary school match between an Indian school and a white school. At around 1 p.m., there came a call of prayer from the mosque. The Indian players immediately stopped playing. They were the fielding side, and they took to the floor to start to pray. How as an umpire, should Zimi deal with such a scenario, Abdullah? And doesn't it negatively affect the opposing team that play stops for 3 to 4 minutes while the call of prayer continues?
So Zimi, in club cricket here in the Western Cape here in South Africa, the playing conditions, or the committee actually added in their bylaws that if there is an audible call to pray, and usually this call is about 2-3 minutes max, and if it's audible, the umpires will stop the game and allow for this call of prayer to finish. As I said, it takes about 2-3 minutes, and then after that, play will then resume. Yeah, that is, there's lots of people of the Muslim faith playing club cricket here in Cape Town, and it was then added. So when it happens, because it's added in our playing conditions here in Cape Town, and everyone is so used to it. Yeah, it is. The game will just continue 3 minutes later. That 3 minutes, while the call of prayer was ongoing, will be seen as extenuating circumstances, and we will take it into account for the overrate of the fielding side. I'm not sure in your region if it's added to the playing condition, but it is common practice that yes, for that 2-3 minutes, yes, play stop. We do take all religion and cultures into account, and if they do stop, and usually what we do is not that they sit down and pray. They actually, just out of respect for the call of prayer, the players will go sit down. So yeah, so while this call of prayer is ongoing for 3 minutes, they sit down, and play can just resume 3 minutes later. Tom, did I answer the question?
100%. Thank you, Abdullah. Next question is to do with the runs scored when a batter is dismissed. Sandeep Paul asks, in what circumstances are runs allowed when a batter is dismissed? Sandeep, we did go through this in Law 18. I am sharing my screen and I will take you through the law. When a batter is dismissed, any runs for penalties awarded to either side shall always stand. And over and above that, there are a few scenarios when runs will be scored. If a batter is dismissed obstructing the field, the batting side shall also score any runs completed before the obstruction, unless, however, the obstruction prevented a catch from being taken. If the obstruction prevented a catch from being taken, then no runs other than penalty runs shall be awarded. When else will runs be awarded when a batter is dismissed? If a batter is dismissed run out, the batting side shall score any runs completed before the wicket was put down. So if the batter was run out on the third run, then the first 2 runs were completed. Those 2 runs will count. If, however, a striker who has a runner is dismissed run out, any runs completed by the runner and the other batter shall be disallowed. Okay, so those are the conditions when a batter can score runs when a dismissal occurs. Courtney Cairns wants to find out, this happened to him a few years ago. If you are bowled through the helmet and the helmet comes off and hits the wicket, is that still a dead ball, or does it count as bowled or hit wicket or dead ball? So Abdullah, I think the ball hit the helmet and then the helmet came off the head and hit the stumps. Is that out bowled, or is that out hit wicket, or is that a dead ball because of a serious injury? What of those 3 options is the correct option? Abdullah?
Tom, depending on the umpire, firstly, it could be only one of 2. You can only be bowled if the ball hits the wicket. So bowled is definitely out. It could be either of the other 2. It could be dead ball, because under the dead ball law, there is one of the subsections says, if, according to the umpire, they feel there's a possible serious injury to the batter, they can call and signal dead ball immediately. So if the umpires think, and usually sometimes if the ball goes against your head, umpire can intervene, because usually head injury is serious. And if the umpire call and signal dead ball, the ball will then become dead, even though after that the helmet fell onto the stumps. You will not be out because the umpire called and signaled dead ball. So there could be a possibility of the dead ball if the umpire, either of the umpires called it using the subsection under the dead ball law, possible serious injury to the striker. Could be the other. Could be the other one as well, where ball hit the helmet. There was no call by the umpires. The helmet then dislodged and fell onto the wicket. And yes, according to playing conditions, that will be out hit wicket. Law treats it differently. According to law, Tom, that will be not out hit wicket if the helmet falls onto the stumps. But according to playing conditions, that will be not. According to playing conditions, that will be out hit wicket. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Julap. So Tertius has rephrased his question. If the non-striker is run out by means of the bowler, will that count as one of the 6 legal deliveries in the over? So Tertius, if the bowler has not bowled the ball, then it cannot be counted as a legal delivery in the over. So definitely not, because the ball hasn't been bowled. Non-striker was run out. That ball still needs to be bowled after that run out has been effected. In the previous example, where it was accidentally knocked over in the bowling action and then the ball was bowled, then of course it is a no ball. So it still would not be a legal delivery in the over. Okay, so either way, if there is a man-cad, if the bowler runs out the non-striker because the non-striker has left his or her ground too early, then it will not be a legal delivery in the over. It needs to be rebowled. Sandeep Paul has another question. When can an umpire award the match to a team? Abdullah, I did go through this in Law 16, but if you can please summarize it for Sandeep.
So Sandeep, under Law 16, under the result, there is a subsection under there that deals with umpires awarding the match, and that comes if the team or player refuses to play. But yes, it is part of the law, and umpires do have the power if there is a refusal to play. But importantly, you as the umpires needs to make sure that they are refusing to play before activating this law. So you need to go speak to the captain of the side and confirm with the captain. Captain, why are your players stopping? Are you refusing to play? If the captain says, yes, umpire, I am refusing to continue playing, then the law gives you the power to activate it because of the refusal to play by the one side, you can award the match to the other team. But you need to make sure that there is a refusal to play, and you need to hear it from the captain's mouth. And if the captain confirms there's the refusal, you can award the match to the other side. The law allows for it. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Trusha asks, where will you get the playing conditions? Trusha, before any tournament or any league starts, the playing affairs committee of that particular tournament or that particular league will put together the playing conditions, and they will distribute them to all the teams and obviously the match officials involved in that competition. So I, sitting here, currently have playing conditions for international men's and women's matches, playing conditions for Cricket South Africa Division 1, Division 2 men's and women's matches. Western Province Cricket Association club cricket matches, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. So there are a whole host of different playing conditions for different tournaments. When you become a member of an umpires association in whichever town, city, province, state, country you are in, that association will provide you with the playing conditions for the tournaments that you will be umpiring in. So we are not, as Cricket South Africa Level 1 umpiring course, distributing any playing conditions because they differ from country to country, tournament to tournament. You will get them once you join an umpires association before your first match. Neville asks for clarification, is it still called Mancad or Runout? Neville, it was never officially called Mancad. Mancad is the surname of the gentleman who first effected a runout of a non-striker as a bowler. So that mode of dismissal has been given that nickname ever since that gentleman effected that dismissal. It was always known officially as running out of the non-striker by the bowler. But because we all love shortening long titles, we commonly refer to that dismissal as Mancad. It always has been commonly referred to as Mancad, and it probably always will be commonly referred to as a Mancad. But officially, it's always been known as running out of the non-striker by the bowler. Okay. Thank you, Neville. Thank you, Sandeep. You are all very welcome. We have reached the end of the questions and the comments in the chat box. There were hands raised in the meeting room earlier. Neville had his hand up and Tarun had his hand up. If you gentlemen still want to ask a question, please put your hand up now and we will take your questions live. I see no more questions or comments in the chat box. I see no new hands up in the meeting room. So I will take this opportunity to thank you all for your attendance and your interaction. This meeting has been recorded and will be uploaded on our YouTube channel by 11 a.m. South African time tomorrow. We will reconvene for our 7th and final lecture on Monday, the 16th of March. And Abdullah is currently in contact with Alauddin Palika, who was the TV umpire for the World Cup final in Ahmedabad last week, Sunday. He's back in South Africa, and he will most likely join us for at least 20-30 minutes of his precious time on Monday, the 16th of March. It is a revision lecture, but we will hopefully have a special feature involving Alauddin Palika for you guys to pick his brain on how the World Cup happened and experienced in the eyes of umpires officiating at the highest level. So thank you very much once again for your attendance and your interaction. We will see you next week, Monday. Until then, have a great weekend when it comes. Thank you and goodbye.